Gotta go.
Hey, guy, you're the first serious gamer I've seen all morning. Check this out. Brand new 16-bit Super Nintendo with Super Mario World. Wow!
What's this one?
Oh, this is a Sonic the Hedgehog from Sega Genesis. Hey, look at these radical colors, huh?
Wow, Sonic's fast, too.
No, over here.
I like Genesis, and it costs a lot less.
Wait, kid, that game
I'll
there.
take Sonic and Genesis.
I knew that.
Sonic the Hedgehog. More action.
Funky colors. Shapes that swing.
Impossible.
Game of double ping machine, and it is virtually.
This episode brought to you by Rhett B. Law, a totally legit law firm. Suck it, Silver.
Good Lord, everybody. Already calling Silver on blast because she's wrong and a horrific B racist. A horrific B racist. I'm disappointed. I have a legit accredited degree in B law from B Harvard. I will have you know. We're not going to relitigate this argument again. You be erasure. You do not recognize legit B law, and you're a B racist or a bigot, as I phrased earlier. I have just now your incredulity and your offensiveness towards Bs who deserve representation. Yeah. You don't care. If bees would go away, everything would fall apart. And I cannot believe the world we live in where people are allowed to be bee racist. It upsets me. What do you mean fake bee law? If Ross will back me up. Bee law's a legit thing. I have. I just told you Rhett B. Law is the law firm. Well, just because the conspiracy people at Google preventing me from showing up in the searches because they're anti-B does not delegitimize my law firm. You're not winning this. I am a local word-of-mouth bee lawyer. Don't give me attitude, young lady. You don't know that. I could be your father. Who knows? Somehow it just happened. It is good. Jason seems to be not present with us, even though he's there. He's just dead. Ross, how's things been going? Are you appalled as much as I am by Silver's bigotry? Yeah, it is. We're required to because we need diversity. Yes. This is why we show up 30 minutes early. What you don't want to weigh in on Silver's bigotry? I am not a fake that I advertised on this podcast. Thank you very much. Did I put on the wrong thumbnail? Oh, I could correct it while we're sitting here. By the way, my legal standing is not challenged necessarily by the wrong thumbnail. Thank you very much. Oh, shove it. Jason, why don't you tell us how things are going while I play with this? You're kind of cutting out. You're cutting out a bit. Like, haha, funny. Hey, I have changed the thumbnail. Silver. Jason's having problems. Ross, why don't you fill it in? Birthday boy. Yay. Oh. Because you abandoned Far Cry 6, which, yeah. Yeah, if it was just the doing history stuff in Egypt thing, you'd be fine. Well, and unfortunately, now with the state of Assassin's Creed, the least interesting part of Assassin's Creed is the animus stuff. Where it's like, oh, I just don't care what's going on. Yeah. Just a new history setting, doing your history stuff, participating in history. Silver, it's lovely. X-Files is great. I need to pick it up again. I've been through the first couple of seasons. And then it's like you watch a bunch and you're like, I need to give it some time. I'll go back later. Yeah. Well, it's like The Office can't be remade, even though they're remaking it. Yeah, and he would be an incompetent, like, um, male beta character, and Scully would just be this big dominant, like, center of everything. And the funny thing is, Scully is a strong female character, assertive, strong female character. And but they don't write it in such a case that Scully overdoes him, that she kind of follows in his wake and is skeptical of everything, which is what you need as a skeptical character when it comes to every story. The only frustrating thing with X-Files, which everybody's talked about for years and years, is weird fantastical stuff happens and somehow Scully just doesn't see it. Like, it happens out of a corner of her eye, or she gets knocked out and then the alien shows up, or the weird worm monster is there, but she doesn't get to see it, but Mulder gets to see it. Well, and then Scully will walk in and it'll be over. Well, and it's important, and it's important to her character. However, there is that time where she maybe gets abducted and disappears and comes back and doesn't remember any of it. Literally gets firsthand experience, and she's like, none of that happened. What are you talking about? don't don't worry about it. She's like, I don't remember any of it. I remember that. I remember that. It's a good time. Silver, you degenerate. What's going on? Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to be mean. Uh-huh. Oh, oh, wait. Save that. We're going to talk about him. Save it. Just hold on to it. What else? Just homework. Hold it in. It'll become a tumor. It's coming. I'm still. We're gonna have to have a sit down conversation about where the silent voice thing goes, because it's a time consuming event, and we'll see. We'll see if I gotta. If we need to just. It's still in the works. It hasn't been forgotten. It was a good discussion between me and her. You know what, Ross? I've had enough of your guff. You might be the special birthday boy, but I will take you down. There. A little too special, one might say. A little bit scandalous. Oh, look, it's Chance who missed our bee discussion, and it's Ross's birthday. But how's it going, Chance? What? Because you're bigot? Is that the problem? Your massive bigotry. You know what? This stain will not leave you. No, you won't. See, that's the problem when arguing with me. You don't win, you just feel disappointed. That's literally what happened. She just went like, I don't. And Chance says, happy birthday, Ross. Or happy birthday, which is, I guess how you spell it in the foreign country of Arkansas. Arkansas. Arkansas? I did a bunch. I watched Kingsglaive, the movie attached to Final Fantasy 15. Yeah, so they made a whole movie that happens in the middle of Final Fantasy 15, strangely enough. Where it's like the events have massive sort of consequences, and your character finds out about it on like seeing the news when it happens. And the movie is like that event. So it was kind of interesting. Yeah, they wanted to do like a dual movie game thing. Final Fantasy 15 was super ambitious and kind of stumbled in its effort. What, you're not hyped about all the character shipping and the husbandos that all the girls had? And yeah, I literally own the DLC for the PlayStation VR for the fishing game, so you could do in VR the fishing game for Final Fantasy 15. Yeah. So that's exciting. I watched a bunch of garbage anime. One of them stood out as interesting, even though no. So we talked about watching Fruit of Evolution, me and Silver. She gave up in the second episode. I watched both seasons. It is a steaming pile of horse crap. I can tell you that right now. It's awful. Yes, the giant gorilla does fall in love with the main character and tries to marry him. And I could tell you the end of the series ends with him defeating the final boss through the power of love and having a dance off. Yep, that's the show. It's a weird, strange ride, I can tell you that much. Jason has problems. Also problems in the podcast. You know, technical. You know what I think it is? I think it's because you speak Italian. That's why. It's a theory. Boppity boopy. I had a gal I used to date. And on Friday, I would send her an Italian guy making that hand gesture where he's like, oh, pizza, you know what I mean? And I did it for weeks until she finally goes, she's like, what is that? And I go, it's a Friday. I kept that up for a while and she had no idea what I was doing. This is why I have Well, as long as I'm having fun. This is why I have long-lasting relationships, everybody. This is why specifically. I was trying to find. No one's going to care about this. Full Dive, the ultimate next gen full dive RPG, is even shittier than real life. It stood out to me by having the only interesting gimmick to the 40 other isekais I've seen that are all terrible. See, it does have an interesting gimmick, as opposed to practically every isekai that is awful and derivatives of everything else. That one was at least like, oh, the video game's so horrible that like you do things in the game and they have lasting repercussions, and he goes to prison and stuff. It, the guy's sister is trying to hunt him down. And then he spends the rest of and then he runs away and he gets labeled a best friend killer, and then he ends up going to prison where he gets tortured and he pees himself. Like, the show is messed up. Like, you're not happy with the events that happen, but I actually sat there and I went, oh, this is actually interesting, as opposed to all of the other shows I watched that are really awful. So I've seen when you see as many garbage isekais as I have, Jason, that when you finally see something that stands out, then you're like, oh, interesting. I'm not saying it was really good. No one has. Yes. Yep. Oh, it was way more interesting to make it more worth my time than like the last 5 I saw. Like, I actually went, oh, it's doing something different. Interesting. It's also a little lewd. Yeah. I'm not recommending it. If I recommend an anime, Silver knows, I'll deliberately say I recommend this. I'll talk about a bunch of weird anime. I usually don't recommend it. Hopefully Chance is still with us. He just bailed out. Well, and if you can't tell by our clickbaity thumbnail that I had Silver make for us, a really important event happened this week. Netflix has put Godzilla -1 on Netflix. Yeah, that's right, Ross. Godzilla -1 is on Netflix. I know. Well, we're here for you. We're your sleeping pill. We're your sleeping pill. We're semi-addictive and can be fatal. But we're a sleeping pill that'll help you out. So politics is going on. not to avoid the point. We are not a political podcast, as much Chance might want us to be. At one point, we were complaining about politics, but I think we should have a realms where you can move away from politics and enjoy talking about stupid, nerdy stuff and then not have to be constantly bombarded. Because believe it or not, the world is consumed with politics, which has also infected movies and video games and comic books and everything else. It's all bled in because the world has been consumed by politics, and that's all we have to do. That's all we have to deal with constantly. Woke conversations and political pandering and DEI nonsense. But yes, political drama has been happening this week, and we've had a lot of drama worldwide. Ukraine, Middle East, election stuff here, election stuff in Europe, drama in South America. Especially, it's going to sound like I'm talking down to you, especially if you're young. It's going to feel like the world is falling apart on a constant basis because you're constantly inundated with politics. We, believe it or not, politics has gotten worse in at least America, and politics has gotten worse worldwide. You're like, well, how could it be worse? Well, this country had a civil war, and the world did fall apart to a massive world war where tens of millions of people died. And this has become a problem. Chance says the whole world needs to get laid and smoke a fat one. Neither of those things are happening. Especially for me. I am the angry one, and I am going to be the one to start the problems. You can't keep me away from it. Not only do I not get laid, but I don't smoke anything. Nobody on this podcast smokes anything. Well, because she's a degenerate. That's just the problem. So, the point being, we are going to have to find a way to live with people we don't like. And I know it sounds shocking, but whatever's going on in your head, believe it or not, you are a minority on your political opinion. I would be shocked if 10, 15% of the country agrees with my political perspective. And that goes for Ross, and that goes for Jason, and 0.1% maybe agrees with Silver. It's exciting and fun to attack other people for differences, and as much as things might be heightened at the moment. Whether or not the election goes one way or the other, whether or not you agree with what's happening currently or not, globally or locally, the one lesson that can be sort of taken from this is your chances of raging centrist. Oh, good job. You're going to have to realize that you exist in a world and in this country and overall with a lot of people who simply don't see the world that you do. And you're going to have to figure out that no amount of angry, belligerent yelling at one another is going to change the fact that you're not going to be in charge and the country is not going to be specifically how you want it to be. And some people might either be upset or happy with current events. I would caution that you have to at least be more magnanimous than that. This podcast is about talking about video games and movies and whatnot. Embrace the fact that you're going to have opinions that nobody likes. Or a lot of people don't like. Me and Ross disagree quite a bit on some films. That's fine. Believe it or not, we haven't murdered each other yet. Oh, Ross, just because you're media literate doesn't mean you have to attack a central character to the theme of Saving Private Ryan. Upham is the worst. Good Lord. And Grandpa Joe is a hero. Yeah. Stealing fizzy lifting drink. Um, and he's a great dancer. Do you think of that? I've got a golden ticket. I've got a golden twinkle. And Jenny is the worst. Jenny is probably one of the worst characters in cinema ever. She takes advantage of a mentally ill cripple and sleeps with him when she potentially had AIDS and gave him an AIDS baby. Jenny is an objectively awful person. And and this is a case in point. Nobody knows how to disagree anymore without falling apart emotionally, without raging and freaking out. Jenny was always the bad guy, Chance. We all agree. She's a degenerate, an awful person, and only shows up to take advantage of him, rejects him constantly, and then shows up at the end when he has a lot of money and she has AIDS and doesn't know what to do with it. No, she wouldn't. Forrest Gump? Have Have you seen it? What? Yeah, she immediately buggered out. Just receded below the waves. Yeah. I should find a video of a kaiju and put her head on it where it's just receding back into the sea. It was funny. She had a point to make and then it was gone. I wonder if it's a kaiju brother. Oh, you think so? Perhaps it'd be more legitimate if she got on a. My point being that nobody knows how to disagree anymore, and that's the problem. People take things so personally, especially when it comes to the media, because they self-identify with the things they love. When I say I don't like Star Wars and a Star Wars person gets upset, it's because they self-identify with that. Their whole personality is wrapped around the idea that they love Star Wars. Sorry, Jason. Yeah. And and if anything, well, and if anything, this podcast is an advocate for disagreement. Believe it or not, the origin of the superhero fight argument that we have is to just have an argument and to back up your argument, whether or not you agree or not. That's the point of it. Oh, look at Silver. What were you going to say, Silver, about your advocacy for Jenny? Oh, rock on. Did he sit there for hours telling his life story when Jenny lived just a couple blocks away? Uh, he's really fast. He'll catch her. He will. He'll run and not stop, and then cause a faith sort of inspirational group that he'll disappoint down the road. Yeah. Yeah, the Church of Gump. I'm an advocate for the Church of Gump. Make sure you sleep with ladies who sleep around and make all the horrible decisions, and then just remember you can find a mentally handicapped man with lots of money near the end to take care of you. Yeah. Well, and he has no self-respect that he's not going to turn this insane thought away because he's always been simping for. It's really a simp lesson. Don't be a simp. He has so much going for him. Championship table tennis, war hero, championship football, Medal of Honor recipient, Purple Heart. Yeah, inspired the world through running, heads up one of the largest shrimp companies in the world, initial investor in Apple, helped turn other people's lives around, met multiple presidents, to Lyndon B. Johnson, yeah. He might have wanted to see it, yeah. He did. Yeah, that's the only thing he took from meeting JFK. Is like, oh yeah, they gave me all the Dr. Peppers I wanted, and then he's like, and then I found out later that that nice young man was killed, and it's like, oh, oh no. They made a movie about a Stephen King movie about trying to stop the JFK assassination. It's on Hulu. It does have James Franco in it, and it's basically some '60s obsessed dude who thinks that the world would be so much of a better place if they stopped the JFK assassination. And he got Franco to go back in time to stop it. And after all of the many attempts and all the efforts, he finally succeeds in stopping the JFK assassination. And he goes back to the real world, and it's like the apocalypse. Like it's all just ruined streets and stuff. And it's like, yeah, because JFK was kind of a psycho warmonger, wasn't he? People look at JFK almost like he was this great savior. He pushed us closer to World War III. Oh, they wouldn't have. Yes. Yes, Jason. According to the Seinfeld movie, it was Big Milk who killed JFK. Um, that's because with the advent of the Pop-Tart, it was lowering the status of milk in breakfasts. And JFK was part of breaking that problem through government support and subsidies, which was an anti-communist thing. And Big Milk had a problem with it because it was basically milk was no longer the center of the breakfast world. So they assassinated him because they literally show the Zapruder film, and it scans by and you see a milkman in the background. Well, they're still together, weirdly. I mean, he did look bad, but he must have gone. As strange as it was, is he went after somebody who was underage, and it was super inappropriate. He was super dedicated to that underage girl. $25. Yeah. That's the joke. He literally dumps them when they hit about 25. That's too old. It's a good thing Silver is like 4,000 years old. You're unavailable for Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm okay with that. Not to detract ourselves with movie conversation. We need to learn how to disagree is, I suppose, the overall point. You can hate old Donald, and you can hate Disney and the woke stuff, and you can hate all of those things and still not fall apart into personal attacks and being awful. If anything, this podcast advocates disagreement, especially when it comes to nerdy stuff, because if you are a nerd in any aspect, that comes with stupid conversations about movies and video games and comics and disagreeing about what character's better or who would win in a fight or what stupid things would happen. So if my soapbox is anything, disagreements is great. You're going to have to learn to live with people you disagree with, I guess. That is until I assassinate Ross. Then I don't have to live with him anymore. No, I had nothing. No. Gowron's going to paint a happy little tree. Hashtag Gowron did nothing wrong until he was taken over by those the changelings, yeah. And then he wasn't the same Gowron. I'm a fan of Gowron, though. He's my favorite Klingon. And you might go, he is quintessentially the best Klingon. You might go, oh, Worf, and it's like, yeah, Worf kind of sucks if I'm going to be honest. Yeah, it's about being cool and having bug eyes. Yeah, and being scummy. Yeah, I follow Gowron into the heart of the Borg because he's awesome. He is pretty great. Moving right along. Hey, Silver, what did we watch? Yeah, and it is really good, isn't it? It's everything you wanted. Hey, guess what? It's not a degenerate, stupid isekai. It's not a dumb, like, silly, like, it's got very few, like, silly Japanese sort of tropes when it comes to anime and stuff. It's almost like just a classic adventure story in a fantasy world with well-written characters. Yeah, it's really good. Like, yeah, it's it's centered at two strong female characters that are really well written. I'd recommend it. And have been recommending it to the rest of you, and the only one that finally saw it was Silver, and she loves it. Yeah, well, see that before all the other garbage, Jason. Yeah. Freerin is good, though. It's a good show. Yeah. They all have depth. Yeah. They're well written. There's very little cynicism in the characters. They're not like, oh, this person's good, but not really. And it's like, no. There's no anti-heroes. Yeah. They all have their own personalities. Yeah, there's always an isekai that's dumb. I'm so sick of the anti-hero. I'm sick of it. And Frierin's great. If you want a basic, fun story. And it's accessible. It sounds like another generic anime, if I'm going to be honest. It just sounds like another. Anyway, Frierin's really good. Me and Silver talked about it extensively earlier this week. And it's just a great story. Yeah, it's really good. She literally afterwards, we talked about it like the day after she watched it, and she was like, yeah, now I feel bad because there's no more Frieren. Yeah. Are there any shows or stuff like that where it's like, if I could, I would forget it completely so I could watch it for the first time or do it for the first time? Lord of the Rings is a good one. Let me see if I can't pick something else. What would I love? I know, Silver, you've said that about Dark Souls. For the first time. Yeah. Oh, Knights of the Old Republic. Yeah, it is. Uh-huh. Never heard of it. And you want to see it again? It no longer, you're too immune to the problems with it. No. I suppose if you wanted to be sad again, you could go through Graveyard of the Fireflies. Yeah, in 1984, you don't win. There's no outcome where he comes out on top. On top. Yeah. what's a The Road is like that, the book and the movie, where there's not really a happy outcome. It just happens. with Viggo Mortensen. Oh, and there's a Viggo Mortensen movie I have saved. I think it's on Amazon. That I'm excited to watch. That I've never heard of, one of his films, called American Samurai. And he's holding a katana. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see Viggo Mortensen as the American Samurai in this bad-looking B movie. It's looking pretty good. Yeah. No, it's old. He's younger Viggo Mortensen. Yeah. Yeah, he's got too much status now. Yeah, that doesn't matter to B movies. B movies culturally appropriate all over. No, they still make movies like that all the time. Just awful B film. No, they still exist. Oh yeah. No, they're still out there. The only reason why you would get response is because Viggo Mortensen's in it, and they'd be like, "Well, how could he take samurai status or whatever?" That's the only way they notice. We do, however, have news.
The Distracted Gamer Podcast's big steaming pile of news dump.
Oh my gosh, this black screen. Nope, not the intro again. There we go. Hey everybody, podcast news and stuff. Because the news never stops. It keeps on going. Can't stop, won't stop. News forever. As I edit this, one of the bigger stories come out this week about George R. R. Martin. Talking about Hollywood adaptations and how they're just terrible. Let's read on a little bit. George Martin bashed Hollywood screenwriters and producers for believing that they can improve on the source material of standout authors such as Ian Fleming, Stan Lee, J.R.R. Tolkien, and others when they attempt to adapt their stories. That actually is the prevailing philosophy in Hollywood, is you get young writers who think they can write better, and put their own spin on it, if you will. And in a recent blog post, Martin decried, "Everywhere you look, there are more screenwriters and producers eager to take stories and make them their own. It does not seem to matter whether the source material is written by Stan Lee, Charles Dickens, Ian Fleming, Roald Dahl, Ursula K. Le Guin, J.R.R. Tolkien, Mark Twain, Raymond Chandler, Jane Austen, Orwell, anyone. No matter how major a writer is, no matter how great the book is, there always seems to be someone on hand who thinks they can do better, eager to take the story and improve it. The book is the book. The film is the film. They will tell you as if they were saying something profound. Then they make the story their own. They never make it better. 999 times out of 1,000, they make it worse." I can't disagree with this. And here's the thing. I'm not a fan of George R. R. Martin, but he has a valid point. Just because I don't like his work doesn't mean that you need somebody who shows up later and ruins it, who thinks they can do a better job. You have something to say? Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, he misinterpreted the theme. Well, and he, even though he displayed the politics correctly, he just goes, "Oh, military equals fascism." Like he doesn't understand that they're literally like discouraged from joining the military. That's a sense of responsibility. That's a sense of duty. If you do, you should step up, and it's gonna be difficult, and it's not, they're not a militaristic society. No. Yeah. You know what? Another movie that's good. It has problems, but it's good, but also misinterprets the book completely. Is Blade Runner. Yeah, and the book is a whole different thing, and the writer didn't care for how they were interpreting the movie. Yeah, this happens all of the time. But the assumption that in the what's that, Jason? No, no. Yeah, Ridley Scott doesn't know what the crap he's talking about. Give him a little eye shine near the end of it. Yeah. But setting aside the difficulties of adaptation, he has a point where if you're trying to change it and you think you know better, then you don't understand. Like, remember the time when we used to get something, let's say a classic story that's well loved, even nerdy, and you go and get a hold of people who are obsessed with that, who know a lot about it, to work on it. And instead of, I hate this show and the story and everything that gets, literally that happened with The Witcher, where the writers of The Witcher show on Netflix said they hate The Witcher and were changing it because they hated The Witcher. And that's why everybody hated the show, because and then they get upset. It's like, well, stupid fans. And it's like, you're the one that changed it. You want the fans to watch, and then you're angry that they don't like what you change. It's like, excuse me. If you're going to adapt something, you're going to be measured by the original. That's just what's going to happen. And that's part of the reason why Peter Jackson did a good job, where they deliberately said, and you can find the interviews, where he deliberately said, we purposely tried to make it so that we didn't insert our politics into the show. We wanted to insert Tolkien's perspective into the movie, not our opinions or our politics. Yeah. 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 Uh, remember the Arwen drama where they had her fighting at Helm's Deep? And there's video of her there fighting at Helm's Deep, and it was all cut out. And Liv Tyler actually talked about how upset she was by the negativity, and that she thought it was a good move to remove her from the Helm's Deep stuff. Yeah, she thought it was a good idea. No, yeah. You essentially express their romance through sort of like daydreams and him being unconscious and thinking about her and that sort of thing. Yeah, that was Glorfindale. The one thing I thought was really strange in Fellowship is she gets all emotional, and she's like, "No, Frodo, stay with me," and it's like, you've never met this person. Yeah, but she's getting all. And really in the book, she's really not in the book much at all. Most of the relationship is sort of in the appendices and stuff. I didn't mind her addition, and it worked out in the end. But adaptations have their problems. That being said, we do have here, let's look at this one. You might go, oh, why do we care about the ramblings of a random person on Twitter? Well, this guy is one of the head writers for The Tonight Show. And apparently, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes didn't do super well. And he got really pissed off, accusing moviegoers of sucking because people didn't like the movie he likes. You need a Gremlins, yeah. There's a ghost in the machine. Yeah, so Chase apparently attacked moviegoers for not liking what he likes and saying that moviegoing public sucks shit. And then he tries to dunk on the chuds by saying, but movies suck now. And he posted all the sort of audience review scores on Rotten Tomatoes of movies that are doing poorly and did poorly. And it's like, oh, but they suck. Look how loved they are. Rotten Tomatoes is not a good measure whether or not a movie's good. And they didn't. Fall Guy did poorly, and I heard Fall Guy's good. Yeah, it did poorly. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, he's dunking on the chuds. Look at the scores of the very curated Amazon controlled Rotten Tomatoes. Take that, chuds. Yeah, that's enough to get a good assessment of the audience opinion. I have a problem with it. Yeah, big time. They all bombed. And I heard Fall Guy was good. It ate a big one. Yeah, I mean, people don't owe you their views. I'm sorry. They don't owe you their money to go prop up a movie you like. Yes, you do. You have to make a movie that's good, and then you have to sell it to people. And you know what? You can make a really good movie that only caters to a small demographic, and then you're shocked when only the small demographic shows up to watch it. It's like people don't owe you their money. No. No, but thing I like must be good, and thing that I dislike that's in the other political spectrum must be bad. Well, people will support films solely based upon their politics. They'll be like, strong black woman in movie. I have to support it and then get angry when it does well because it doesn't speak to the rest of the population. And then be like, those stupid racists. And it's like they don't owe you their money about strong black woman. Like, so? Yeah. Weird, isn't it? We have an article from Jason. There's a game called X Defiant is Ubisoft's latest foray into free-to-play first-person shooter genre. While many hyped the game up as a Call of Duty killer prior to its release, I have been a little more on the cautious side. This is the article author speaking. Ubisoft has had a knack for chasing game trends and then binning a game in short order when it doesn't deliver. On top of that, I prefer not to see any game killed by another. I do not want to see genuine competition. That's the crux of the industry is who wrote this? I'll reread this. I do not want to see genuine I do not want to see genuine competition between franchises that invigorate fans to play. Why can't we all have things we like? Well, maybe I rent it. Let's see. Still, I don't care. I don't care about this game. Oh, yeah, I don't care if it puts another game in the ground. It should, if it's better. Yep. So I don't care. Ubisoft is a failure. There's a new cat. Well, that's sort of the core problem with any multiplayer game is if you're not there from launch, then there's a vast skill difference and it becomes unfun for new players to join. And new players is what props up the population to keep playing the game. And when new players show up and they get destroyed immediately, it's not fun for them. So you have to have a degree of matchmaking when it comes to skill level, but the problem is that also has its own difficulties. And not enough games have a big enough population in order to correctly match people at skill level so that the competition is fair and balanced, if you will. And this is a perpetual problem that exists in every multiplayer game. Good. Yeah. Siege. Yeah. Oh, do it. Yes, the Tom Clancy world. I don't know. What? Oh, an esports coach. Well, I don't expect the next Splinter Cell to be any good. They're going to ruin the character and everyone's going to hate it. Yeah. Well, in the recent books in the Splinter Cell universe, talk about woke. His daughter becomes new Splinter Cell character who was awesome and just as good as he was. And it's just as good because apparently genetics passes down super awesome skill sets when it comes to murder. And it's funny because his daughter has always been a passive character in the story where he either talks to her over the phone, and there's a moment where she does get in danger in one of the games where he has to go sort of save her because they're trying to get to her through him, sort of thing. But she was never meant to be action star in game. Yeah, who goes to college and wants to be an no, now which is the same thing that was happening in Blade, where Blade's story is now going to be about his daughter being Daywalker woman, as opposed to yeah. So let's just replace every classic character with strong woman, who will be better and no one will watch it or play the game because they're going to hate that you're changing their characters. Hey, there's a new type of cat. Jason, why don't you tell us about cat? Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh. A strange mutation, perhaps? Yeah, that. Yes, because every cat is adorable to you because you have a psychosis. She's got the cat brainworm, much like RFK has the brainworm. She's got an RFK-sized brainworm that will die. Yes, yes. The lead Baldur's Gate 3 writer says, I don't care what happens in a potential RPG sequel as long as it doesn't get made to just hit our earnings next quarter. If I heard they have no interest in making 4. Yeah, they enjoyed making it, but they're exhausted. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, it's not going to be that. If Baldur's Gate 3 did so well that 4 is going to be a steaming pile of horse crap. But they're so worn out by Baldur's Gate 3 that they have no intention of making DLC at this point. Yeah, just like, no. And it got canceled, yeah. We're out. Well, I'm happy of this Jason-centric news. One of the greatest Warhammer 40k games is back with a twist. What are we talking about here? Mechanicus is not one of the greatest 40k war. Leading to a cult following. No, Ross. The Warhammer Skulls reveal Warhammer 40k Mechanicus 2 has excited both returning fans and first timers alike. While the turn based gameplay looks familiar, there's a huge twist no one could have seen coming. Mechanicus 2 begins where it left off. Okay, story, blah, blah, blah. It's considerably different from its predecessor, however, as it offers players a chance to play as Necrons, providing a different perspective. I mean, it's interesting to have a different race. I wasn't. In Dawn of War 2, you can play as the Tyranids. Woo. No, literally, StarCraft has a campaign centered around the Zerg. They do have a campaign in Dawn of War 2. I think it's Retribution that centers around the Tyranids and has like story and stuff. Yeah. Nintendo leak reveals 2 unannounced Mario games. Have leaked after an insider shares details about their code name this week, suggesting that these games might pertain to what are our games? Um, so another Mario game. I loved Odyssey. I loved all the 3D games, and I own them. I mean, I went hard Mario and Switch. Like I got the Mario games. Um, Silver Star. Wasn't there that princess in Galaxy that might fit the silver? You might get another princess game. Can't remember what her bloomin' name is. Yeah, that might be it. Yeah, speculation at this point. It seems mostly just there was a leak of secret names. Not much to glean at this point. Yep. X-Men writer made blank a mutant to stop Marvel retiring the character. This better not be Gwenpool. Ugh. Ew. Gwenpool sucks as a character. Hey, everybody, it's Girl Deadpool. Yay. No. Yes, because girls. No, she wasn't. Not a fan favorite. She's a cult favorite, if anything. She's a minor favorite among girls because she's girl. It's like Harley Quinn. Nobody sells Harley Quinn comics, but people love Harley Quinn. She sucks. Gwenpool's a crappy character. Yeah, I'm still not going to read it. This doesn't encourage me. I understand the criticism. The Little Mermaid's OG director believes Disney needs to do a course correction and critiques the Halle Bailey remake. Yeah, it wasn't good. Jason, when you want to elaborate, this is one of your stories. Well, and here, well, and here's the problem. So, and you hear people say woke all the time, and if this is the first time you've listened to this podcast, you might be like, oh, well, woke. It's like, okay, so here's what we mean. When you make a movie and the show is more about the politics or the race or the gender of the character rather than the story. And an example I might give is, let's present a movie in two different ways. Hey, there's a movie about an alien that attacks a spaceship and the survivors try and get by and it slowly kills everybody until there's one survivor left. And this is a story. I'm telling you something based on the story and how interesting the story is and where it goes and that sort of thing. To explain it woke ways, like a woman kills an alien and is girl bossing her way through the whole thing. The second one emphasizes her gender is more important than the movie or the story itself. And so when we talk about woke, what we're doing is talking about inserting politics and gender and race and stuff as the most important part of the story. So when you see a movie come out like Little Mermaid and they change the race, everybody goes, oh, because that's what they value. It is more important for the race of Ariel to be different than it is to make a good Little Mermaid movie. And so the story needs to revolve around the race. And then that also tells everybody they care more about the politics and telling a good story. They care more about the politics than reflecting the original story in an accurate manner. And this is why we get bad content. It's not just because I disagree with politics. It's because woke makes bad content. It makes movies terrible because it emphasizes the politics more than anything else. And that's the problem with The Little Mermaid. And the reason why they readapt content is because they know if they go, here's my new woke movie, everybody will roll their eyes. So they're piggybacking on already established popular IPs. And then they're changing stuff and saying, well, they're going to show up anyway because it's a popular IP. And so we can put all this political messaging to try and convert them to our perspective. And then everybody hates it. And they're like, well, you're racist. You liked Little Mermaid before, but now you don't like it because race of character. And it's like, no, you changed race of character because you're a political hack. Anyway, I think I got the point across. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Tom Bombadil's in the new Rings of Power season 2. Yeah. To display the character accurately. Well, they wouldn't sell them the Silmarillion. Yeah. That's the problem. Well, and the stupid part, so I know what they're doing. They're like, gonna shove Tom Bombadil into this to appease hardcore fans, and it's like it just annoys us more because he shouldn't be here. like what do you mean to appease the fans? Here, Ross. Here's a picture of Tom Bombadil. Do you see his picture? Do you see that one there? Do you see him there? Do you see him there? That's actual Tom Bombadil in the background. Yeah, well, I think this is a Photoshop in there. Here, tell me if this describes this character. Old Tom Bombadil is a merry fellow, bright blue his jacket is, and his boots are yellow. Does this look like a merry fellow to you? It looks like a guy who's going to be very dour and serious in the serious movie show that's very serious about being serious about Lord of the Rings. Does this look like a merry fellow that likes to dance and sing all the time? This is the Joker of the Lord of the Rings. Why is he more controversial? Let's see. But this could be the show's most divisive choice yet. Perhaps it is wise for the show to show its hand early regarding the narrative choice, long before the show's release, August 29, 2024. In doing so, it can gauge the audience's response to Bombadil's appearance in the show. Though season 2 is already wrapped and ready for release, reaction to Bombadil will go a long ways towards determining whether the show succeeds. Really? Is he that central to the plot of season 2? Bombadil doesn't have an agenda. Yeah, the Far East. Or Saruman or Blue Wizard or whatever. Yeah. Here's the problem. That's not what Tom Bombadil does. Tom Bombadil, there's a lot of speculation as to who he is, whether or not he represents Tolkien himself or God, where he's a passive character that's just sort of there and has no desires or wills or wants to change things. He wouldn't push a wizard in the right direction because he doesn't care. He is generally good, but has no interest in the world and the events around him. He's not trying to influence the greater world. No. Well, there was actually speculation in the book as to whether or not they should give him the ring because he's the only person that the ring doesn't work on. And Gandalf basically said he would have lost it. Because he cares so little for the ring that he'd have just lost it. Yeah, it means nothing to him. Tom Bombadil is a weird side sort of meta character that sort of shows up. Are we going to get Goldberry, who's like this really hot chick who hangs out with the Tom Bombadil? Yeah, but Goldberry is. Ooh. By the way, everybody, as a warning of your doom, we start watching season 1 now. So next week, we talk about the first episode of Rings of Power. Get in. All you have to do is watch one episode a week. That's it. Ross? Rings of Power. It's coming. The first episode starts next week. We have to watch the first episode of season 1 next week. So it's just so by the next podcast, everyone will have seen episode 1 of season 1, correct? Jason, Silver, yes. Don't make us bully you. Precisely. Then by the next week, you'll have to have seen 2 episodes. And we will await your review. We will have a whole section where all we do is listen to Silver talk to us about the first episode. For those who don't know, none of us have seen Rings of Power, despite loving Lord of the Rings, especially me and Jason, Silver, the movies. I've read the books multiple times. My favorite book is The Hobbit. None of us saw the Rings of Power because it looked like a steaming pile of horse crap. So we all stepped away. Why are we watching it? Because season 2 and because memes and because the internet and the content. So that we get exposure on the internet for podcast because Rings of Power. So expect, for the first time ever, 4 individuals that have never seen the show will start watching it 1 episode a week. Yeah, well, we're going to do it now. 1 episode a week, so you will get genuine first impressions of the first season, and it's timed so that when we're done, we start right into season 2. So this is going to be a few months of Rings of Power. I'm going to do an intro. We are going to have the Rings of Power segment of this show, and I'm going to chop it out of the podcast and make it its own video. This is what we're doing, people. Get on the train. Woo woo. Anyway, get hyped for that. I go fast all the time, forever. PlayStation CEO drastically undermines the Steam crowd's patience. Thinks that PC gamers will buy a PS5 for exclusive sequels. No. Not well. Yeah. He genuinely thinks that he is going to get people to buy PS5s because of exclusivity. I'm going to tell you right now, there's only 2 games that were exclusive to PlayStation that motivated me to get a PlayStation. And that was Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. That's it. I don't give a crap about God of War. I don't give a crap about the Spider-Man game that came out because it's terrible. All I wanted to do was play Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. And guess what? I got that. And now we're going to get the 3rd installment in a few years, and I'm going to get what I want out of that. I don't think exclusives is going to motivate. What's that, Ross? Yeah. Well, guess what, Ross? Gears of War 1 is coming to Steam, and it will require a PlayStation account. Yep. God of War. Yeah. Yeah, you will have to have a PlayStation Network account for the new God of War coming to Steam. Yeah, well, they think it will. Unless you have the multiplayer. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. At least with Total War Warhammer, when they make me get a Total War account, they give me free characters and stuff. Basically free LC, but I have to have an account with them for it to register to give me the free LC. So at least there's some motive. Major Rings of Power characters not coming back in season 2. You want to guess who it is? It's Bronwyn, who was the girl boss in season 1 who united the village and was the leader of the village to fight the orcs when they attacked the village. And she was in love with Don Lemonless. Yep. With the elf guy. With Black Elf Man with amazing fade that you couldn't get unless you had modern professional razors. Yeah, she's not coming back for some reason. That's unfortunate. You haven't even seen season 1. Ross is super hyped on this. That the actress might have bailed. Uh-huh. Well, it could be not necessarily fan backlash towards the actress, but the show where they're like, oh, nobody cares about her character. And they're like, get rid of her. We're rewriting everything. Get on the hype train, people. It's Rings of Power train. Woo woo. Marshall Ali is apparently slated for the Jurassic World sequel. Yeah, do you know how long they've been working on that Blade movie? 5. I think he gave up and he's like, yeah, I think he gave up and he's like, I'm going Jurassic Park. Yeah. They should let Blade die because it's not going anywhere. And he's a good actor. And he deserves better than the runaround they gave him with Blade. He's been waiting 5 years. Oh, and by the... Yes, but the original version was his daughter and her friends were going to be the center of the story where they become the new vampire hunters. Well, and then everybody goes, I don't want to see a movie about Blade's daughter. Can't I see Blade do cool stuff and give attitude? Oh, have you seen the new Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket? Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna play this really quick. Hey, look, popcorn bucket, everybody. I think they knew the joke. It doesn't have a tongue. Yeah, oh. Wolverine's hungry. He's got big mouth and hunger. Oh no, butter. It's started a trend of popcorn buckets that you can have sex with. Yay. Gosh dang it. Donaldo. Star Wars boss calls out male-dominated fan base and personal attacks on Star Wars. Okay. Anyway, Kathleen Kennedy said that many women who worked on Star Wars struggle with facing personal attacks from the series' male audience. Just to put this out front, you should never make personal attacks against individuals, even if you hate the movies or the content that they're making. That being set aside, you can super hate the content in the movie that they're making. I think a lot of the women who step into Star Wars struggle with this a bit more because the fan base is so male dominated, they sometimes get attacked. Well, if it's so male dominated, how come we're catering to everybody but the male dominated audience? Can you answer me that? Huh? Yeah. My belief is that storytelling telling does need to be representative of all people. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Yeah. If art is representative, then it's no longer art. This is bullcrap right here. It does not need to be representative. Right here. Because guess what? Black Panther was not very representative. And it told a story. Uh-huh. No, Jason, you know that woke woke cavemen would constantly include Asian characters in their storytelling around the fire. You know that, and I know that. Now, are you erasing Asian experiences in caveman days? Uh-huh. China. Yeah, there shouldn't be. No, because everything is racial, Jason. Everything is viewed through a racial lens. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I saw a gal this last week who happened to be black who was talking about the Yasuke stuff in the new Assassin's Creed. And she was talking about the character, and she was basically like, even setting aside whether or not the character is historical, let's say it is historical, um, it's still telling its story about a dominant Asian culture and replacing it with a black man, even if he did exist. And it's like, you're not wrong. That's like, hey, 99.999, like 100% with a variable happens to be Asian. Let's tell a story about the one black man and make this really racial. It's like, yeah, that's the mistake. As opposed to, everybody else who did more interesting things at that time. Hey, everybody. Leslie Headland declares that people who oppose to wokeness are not Star Wars fans. Yeah, she is the arbiter. By the way, yeah, gatekeeping's wrong. Why are there so many women, girls, and minority characters increasingly dominating the ranks of the Jedi? Ironically, George Lucas made similar comments when asked if he was going to bring more women to the future Star Wars. Lucas was asked, "Are you going to bring more women in the future Star Wars films?" He responded, "Well, what of Princess Leia? When you're making a war film, how are you going to put women in it? Think of other war films. Think of The Longest Day. Those films, well, it's your galaxy. I have to go with the rest of the world and still make it believable. I'm not how many women will be in the rest of the films, that kind of thing that plots dictate." Yeah, Mon Mothma was in charge of the rebellion. A woman was in charge of the rebellion, by the way. Yeah, she wouldn't be. Yeah, dude, that's what would happen. Nevertheless, Brooks used a single question to declare that this is a version of the same misogyny and racism that greeted Rey. What, because they didn't like her character and opposed the film? You're a bigot if you don't like the thing I'm making you watch. Well, if you don't like our forced politics, you are a bigot. Yeah. You want to know something interesting? I have two interesting facts for you about this woman, uh, Leslie Headland. One, she's the head writer for the new Acolyte, who thought it was so clever and whatnot. The twin thing that got revealed. Um, Her wife, girlfriend, whatever relationship is in, she's one of the main characters in the new show. So, you know, she put her wife in the new thing, or girlfriend or whatever. And here's the best part. Here's the best part. She is Harvey Weinstein's former assistant. Well, for him to get away with stuff, someone had to look the other way. Someone who knew him really well. Maybe this unattractive individual. Oh. Well, by the way, she was his assistant. uh and let's end with the Acolyte. It was Kotaku. It's going to be super fair. Oh no. Yahoo, no. With the Acolyte, Lucasfilm has done staying silent about bigoted reaction. Just as a TLDR, they have gotten aggressively ahead of the Acolyte coming out, already attacking people for not liking it. Like way before it. Yes. Way before it comes out. Because I think they know it's not going to be received well. So they are way ahead of it. Leslie Headland's out there accusing people of racism and bigotry and sexism and whatnot. Kathleen Kennedy has been out accusing people of racism, bigotry, sexism, whatever ism you want to throw into there. Yeah, they're very aggressively getting ahead of negative press about this. Yeah, if it was good, this wouldn't be a problem. And that's because we know what they're trying to do. You can watch the trailer and be like, oh, this is really woke. Like, look at this. Look at it. Yeah, it's also a bad movie because woke makes stuff bad. It's not just the woke or the politics, because you can make a political movie that's left wing and good. Now the point is the shoving it into stuff and making it about the DI more than anything. Oh goodness, we've been through some things. We're going to get out of here with Jason Spider. What have you got for us, Jason? Stay on the poorly formatted. Give me a minute. Hey, it's Craven. You having problems? He has low energico. Well, I'm talking specifically about energico, which is what gives the Master of Disguise his powers. Energico. This is a character that culturally appropriated his look. And a Spider-Man villain, which I might add, apparently they thought deserved his own movie. So we're getting a Kraven the Hunter movie, by the way. No, it's somebody else. Jason Momoa is worried about curing autism, if I recall. Oh, well, now Shivani Bullseye. I'm kind of torn on this because realistically, in terms of the comics, this is really an even fight, if I'm being honest. Bullseye is absurdly dangerous. Yeah, especially if you're a little Irish man. What? Well, let me walk this. Let me walk this through. Because I've read a lot of Spider-Man and I've read a lot of Daredevil, and I have a lot of Daredevil. At range, Bullseye wins. Closer up, probably Kraven. Bullseye is no slouch in hand-to-hand combat is the funny thing, but at range, Bullseye wins. Close up, Kraven the Hunter. You're cutting out. Bullseye. So here's the thing. Bullseye would essentially have to catch him unawares or keep him at range, and he just murder him with whatever he has in hand. So it comes down to whether or not he can catch him unawares or in a situation that Craven isn't prepared for. The problem is Craven the Hunter spends a lot of time hunting things. He is a predator in human form, which makes him somewhat skilled at defending against that sort of attack, I would assume. So if I'm working so if I'm working through this logically, Craven? Yeah, I mean, I'm not working from the basic stats. I'm working through how I would see this fight play out in a comic. And if I'm being honest, if Bullseye is the hunter that's going to try and hunt him down and chuck something at him and take him out, and Craven does nothing but hunting, he is prepared for a predator who might hunt him. Therefore, I think he can find a way to close the gap, and that the advantage of either catching Craven unaware or hunting Craven down from a distance is going to be mitigated by the fact that this is exactly in Craven's wheelhouse. So I would have to give it to Craven. Unless they're in an empty field with no obstacles and Bullseye's just standing there, then I think Craven wins. Yeah. Well, remember the first time that Spider-Man's... Yeah. Yeah. Remember the first time that Spider-Man had quote unquote died in the comics? It was Craven that did it. Yeah. Yeah, I think Craven wins. I'm working through it. I don't think Silver or Ross cares, but awesome. Kingpin probably, but we'll see. Yeah, not the same. Anyway. Yes, we've run through the news. We had a little discussion about living in a world where people disagree with you. What's your week looking like there, Jason? Oh. It's the Walmart of cities. Yeah, but just don't forget everything. I mean, it's been a while since I've gotten into sort of a fantasy book The last book I read was about the downfall of Japan in World War II. What was the last fantasy sort of nonfiction? The Shadow, the one where he met commies in a train. Was it called? The Red Menace? Yeah, the little Shadow book. It cannot be understated, by the way, anyone who knows anything about the Shadow. Silver, I'm going to talk to you because you know nothing about the Shadow, right? Okay, the Shadow is a fictional character that was super popular in America, like a long time ago, in like the 20s, the teens sort of thing. Now, to describe you how popular the Shadow is, the Shadow had way more movies than Batman had. Batman is a copy of the Shadow. The Shadow not only had a lot of movies, but was so well, right. The Shadow was so popular that his radio program was listened to by most of the country when it aired every night. We're talking a popularity that's way beyond Batman today. That's how popular the Shadow was. He was a massive part of American culture. He had these little pulp novels about his adventures, and they also had a radio program where various famous actors played the Shadow in these little radio programs where the Shadow goes out and hunts down people and whatnot. But it cannot be understated how actually overwhelmingly huge the Shadow was in America as sort of a popular character. The Shadow is a pre-Batman, just like Doc Savage is like a pre-Superman. Like Batman and Superman are not as original as people make it out to be. Things like Zorro and the Shadow were huge in America, and they turned into characters like Batman in comic books. And comic books were sort of a result of the pulp novels, but as cheap little paperbacks who were very cheap that you could pick up for like a dime or something. But yeah, the Shadow is a huge character in American culture. We just all forget about him because he just sort of disappeared and got replaced by other things. Well, not for a bit. Yes. Yeah, Doc Savage is a character that goes to like the jungle and like fist fights guys because he's this big strong guy and he has American values. He was just such an interesting. He was very much like a pseudo Superman of his time. A decade or so before Superman even came out, did the Shadow, or Batman came out, did the Shadow and Doc Savage exist. Pulp novels are a lot of fun. They're fun little stories about crime and violence and trying to overcome, bad guys. They're sort of an interim sort of superhero archetype that came out amidst a lot of the westerns and whatnot, but was talking about like actual inner city sort of issues with the Shadow. And he's got weird powers where he like uses mind control. Yeah. Lamont Cranston, Man About Town. No. Well, I mean, that's what comic books were. Comic book books were never meant to be more than very cheap, thin paper things that little kids bought. It's like you could get a pack of gum or you could get a little adventure story about a hero punching bad guys. I mean, that's what comic books were. And they snowballed into be collectible. Well, and the problem with the comic book collectible thing is comic books are very flimsy, so they tend not to survive very well. over the years. Yeah. Yeah. Just little adventure stories for young men. It's like you buy a pack of candy, or you could buy a comic book and then run around and read a story, and then you can have little fights with your friends in the backyard. The Shadow's great. That's probably the last nonfiction side. Just so I could explain to Silver that this is a thing. There's a lot of American culture that kind of disappeared. There's a lot of Shadow radio programs that we don't have anymore because they got recorded over or disappeared or whatever. It's just, yeah. S- Silver needs to go on a trip with me sometime here soon. Not because we have anywhere to go, but because I have a habit of listening to like radio programs from like the 1910s while I'm driving, where it's like some spooky drama happens. What's that? Yeah, there is a museum that has a Sherman I really want to see. Yeah, it might be a military base slash museum, but they have a Sherman out there, and I was like, I want to go touch that Sherman. I'm gonna touch it. I like tanks. What of it? Yeah, don't argue with me. Silver's anti-tank, but I'm really tank. There's a anti-aircraft gun a little ways from me, a few blocks from where I'm at, and the library near me has an artillery cannon, little mobile artillery cannon. I like it. I'm really into history. I was recently watching a video about the Shogun. Oh, and Ross sent me something about a weird movie in about the Soviets made about World War II. Well, I watched like the first 10 minutes hanging out on the porch. I just remember that the guy came to. I just remember the guy came to, and the first thing he asked was, how did Russia do? How was Stalin? Before he ever asked about his wife, if she's alive or okay, he's like, did Russia survive? Did Stalin survive? It's like, when you ask about your wife? No, Russia first. It's very propaganda-y, yeah. Yeah. It was very beloved before the fall of Russia, and after the fall of Russia, everybody thought it was a piece of crap. At any rate, it's hard to say. At any rate, we are dragging this out. Thanks everybody for coming along. Ross, anything to say before we get out of here? Rings of power. You're gonna have to wash it with your lady friend. Silver, something inspiring for the kids to keep them going. What? Yay, goodbye.
If you like the show, follow Rhett, Jason, Ross, and Silver, the world's most lethally stupid internet personalities, on Twitter at DG Podcast or on Instagram at Distracted Gamers. If you liked or hated what you heard here today, you can email them at thedistractedgamers@gmail.com and share your feelings. Not that Jason would care, since he hasn't any, of course.
Oh my God, it's so juicy.